Welcome to the Church Answers podcast. My name is Thom Rainer. I am always glad to be with you. You're going to enjoy our guest in just a few moments. Her name is Brooke Cecil. Before I even talk about what I'm going to talk about, before I talk about the next thing I'm going to talk about, Brooke, isn't that really confusing? Let me welcome you to the Church Answers podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here today.
Well, you're going to learn that Brooke is the Director of Client Relations at Belay. You hear me talking about Belay a lot, and today we're going to be talking about someone who's going to give us a little bit of inside information about one of the particular resources and opportunities that they can offer you. We'll talk about that in just a few moments, but when I said we're going to talk about Belay, before we go to Belay, before we end with Belay, what I meant was we want to start off by talking about Belay and the services that they offer. They've been helping busy church leaders accomplish more with remote staffing solutions since 2010. And if you haven't heard me say this before, we've been there. Church Answers has been with them almost from the beginning. I don't know if it's 2010, but close to it, 2010, 2011. So we've always had a Belay worker during that entire time. They're now offering a new resource. You've been hearing me talk about one resource for several episodes. Now they're offering a new resource. It's called, now listen to this, you'll need it, 4 Costly Financial Mistakes for Your Church. So just keep an idea that particular PDF is brand new, is free to you for being a part of the Church Answers podcast. Text Thom, remember, my name is Thom, at 55123 to get the free download. All right, Brooke, this is almost like a question, quick answer, but it's not quite. You'll have a little more breathing room than that. Let's first, before we even get into a couple of questions, I want to ask you, let's talk about what you do at Belay, Director of Client Relations.
Yeah, so I actually oversee all of our accounting services. So I oversee our bookkeeping services, our CFO services, as well as our payroll team as well here at Belay. So I get the great opportunity to serve alongside a lot of churches across the country to ensure their financials are up to par and that they can then go and do the ministry that they've been called to do. So.
Well, we know that a lot of churches that we have talked to are using those services of Belay. We're delighted that they are. One of the services that I haven't talked as much about as I have the EA or executive assistant is the bookkeeping. I talk about it from time to time, but what I wanted to do this time, Brooke, was just kind of open the door a little bit more on this particular service from Belay. Just to give you a little bit of where we are on it, most of our pastors, and our listeners are pastors and other church leaders, but most of our pastors do not really get into the financials. And they're sometimes fearful of the financials. They're sometimes fearful of what would happen if they did get into it. So let's just ask this question outright. And you can answer it for churches or any other organizations that you serve. How do you know you need a bookkeeper?
Well, I would say specifically with churches, I would say you need it from day one. But I say that with an asterisk beside it because, a lot of times when we think we need a staff member, we think we need somebody full-time, and that's not necessarily the case. In many churches that we serve, before they come on board with us, they've had a volunteer within their church that has taken care of it, or something similar to our services to where it's more of that fractional level service. But I would say initially from the gate, I think that, as a lead pastor or associate pastor, whatever you're doing, it's important to create protective guardrails for both you and your congregation. And I think part of that is you not being involved, but rather you being given the information to make decisions that are best for your ministry.
You mentioned something I want you to just expand on a bit, fractional labor. Talk about the fractional labor. That is one of the great features of Belay.
Yeah. So in terms of fractional labor, it can vary. We have engagements here at Belay that start anywhere from 5 hours per month to upwards of 30 hours per month. It really is just dependent upon the needs of the client to be able to match them where they are. And it's honestly to be able to give you flexibility as a ministry to be able to meet you where you are in terms of your budget as well.
Well, we have used it in We definitely like it. Now, is it 5 per month or 5 per week when you start
I'm
talking
so
about that?
sorry. Yeah, so it can vary. So on our bookkeeping, it really can be about 5 to 8 hours per month. You think about those smaller. We serve a lot of church planners, and I always joke with those church planners. They never thought, like, they just had the calling to start a church, not try to figure out what the books were doing and what to do with those reconciliations. And so it can start as small as that. We personally, when we do our pricing, it's based upon the budget of the church, but it averages about to those hours per month.
And what I tell church planners, what I tell anybody that's in a church, and you can tell me if I'm saying it wrongly or not, but what I tell them is the best time to get involved with a bookkeeper is at the very beginning, so you can establish all your books correctly. Because when someone comes in and they haven't been established correctly, you do it at Belay, because that's what you do most of the time. You have to go in and just reestablish everything on the system you have. So am I stating it correctly?
You are, and that can be costly. What we think is going to save us initially ends up costing more in the end. And so, in order just to do it well, starting out of the gate, I think is a great practice.
Well, most of our churches won't have that opportunity to do so. So let's at least give those pastors and others some assurance that you have done a lot of cleanup with churches, and that's what you know that you're going to do.
Yes, we do. And we have some of our bookkeepers love to do it. It's a treasure hunt for them.
I'm glad they love it. I'm not so
Yeah.
sure that I would love doing it. Talk about the different types of value a bookkeeper can add, Brooke.
Yeah, there's a couple different areas. I think, we always say allow us to do what we do best so you can do what only you do best. And part of that is bookkeeping, and it's that record keeping. So it's going to give you those accurate numbers in order that you can make wise financial decisions for your ministry. So whether it's, we need to cut this event because we didn't get the funding to do whatever it might be, or let's look at staffing. We think we really need another team member here. Let's look at the budget to be able to determine if that's even something that we can do. Another thing that I think is really, really helpful and a great value add is also just in terms of giving, to be able to track your giving, to be able to track the trends of that as well, to evaluate, where you are and to help forecast where you want to be as a church.
Yeah. And a lot of the services that track giving don't always track bookkeeping, so you're able to offer the whole package, and somebody can
Correct.
come in with a turnkey on the finances for a church or other organization.
Absolutely. And I would say additionally, just even the simple day-to-day things of paying bills, ensuring that payroll is processed on time, providing financials to your finance committee or to your ministry partners so they can see where they are in terms of their budget to, again, help them make decisions as we move forward within the year.
Brooke, one of the value adds that I mentioned with Belay, with a bookkeeper, because y'all do so much with churches, the unique features of church finance. You understand
Mhm.
housing allowance. You understand Social Security eligibility or not. You
Mhm.
understand that there's no such thing as automobile pay. There's automobile reimbursement and all those things that I'm
Yes.
probably causing my listeners and viewers right now to say, Thom, you're giving us too many details. The point is this: there are CPAs that sometimes do not know some of the things that you know. And that's why Belay is so incredible at bookkeeping for churches.
Yeah, I agree. I have had the privilege of serving here for 10 years, and I actually came from a church as I transitioned into my role. And so it has been really beneficial just to see what we've been able to do to come alongside and support the church with the knowledge that, we have as well of our bookkeepers within my team. You are actually provided a CSC that has that financial expertise that can help guide you in the very things that you were mentioning.
Boy, you know what? I wish you would come back and do another podcast. Wait a minute. You are going to come back and do another
We'll be
podcast.
back.
We're going to be back. These are so brief that I hope it leaves the listeners and the viewers at YouTube hungry for more. I want you to just, we download all of these at the same time. So you, the listener or viewer, get ready to listen or view more, because Brooke is going to be talking to us about how pastors can be helped in financial decision making, tips to pastors and church leaders who are just overwhelmed with managing and maintaining church finances. If that sounds like you, come back and we'll be talking to you in the next episode of the Church Answers podcast. Remember, our friends at Belay help busy church leaders accomplish more with their remote staffing solutions. Since 2010, they've been doing that. They have a new download for you. And I'm excited to mention that we are now offering 4 costly financial mistakes about churches. And you need to get that and download it. And not only read it, Pastor, but let your lay leaders who have a responsibility for finances read it as well. Glad you're coming back, Brooke. We'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. Thank you as well for being a part of the Church Answers podcast. We'll see you on the next episode where we'll be talking to Brooke about bookkeepers helping pastors with financial decisions. We'll see you then.